here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest, in fact, three in this case, because recently I did an interview with three members of the Scottish-based band FINI TRIBE to find out more about life, love, poetry. And also, they have got a new box set that is coming out, The Sheer Action of FINI TRIBE from 1982 to 87. It's a colossal retrospective focusing on those particular years, including John Peel sessions and also 12-inch mixes and remixes and singles, including the testimony that we loved so much, and also Wax Tracks records. So you're going to find out more about that and so much else about the band. So this is with Chris Connery, who's the first person to talk, then there's Davie Miller, and then Simon McGlynn, who also speaks. So yes, you're going to have to just work out who's who, but this is going to be it. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of those early formative years. This one is going to start with Chris, who takes it away. Chris, over to you.
Well, I sort of started by myself in my bedroom, and I didn't have anything except a tape recorder, a reel-to-reel tape recorder. I started experimenting with it, and then Andy McGregor, he's been my best friend since we were both 5, and so clearly he was one of the people who were going to be working with me in the band, whether he liked it or not. And himself and Philip and John from the band all went to the same school in Edinburgh, and they were friends. And so it sort of started like that in my bedroom, and then got a drum machine, and that wasn't cutting it really. And we wanted a drummer, and John's sister was going out with Simon at the time, and he was we got a real musician in the band.
Yes. And so what were your kind of key artists and bands that you were listening to during the 70s and your formative years?
Well, around about that time, the late 70s, early 80s, I mean, punk was, of course, I suppose, the great leveler. But that, for me, it was fun, but it got stale pretty fast. So bands like Wire, it got stale for them too. So bands like Wire were very important to us because they still had the sort of rock format, but guitar, bass, drums, vocals, but they started doing something else with it. Before that, I was really into things like, it was quite esoteric. I loved David Bowie, but I also loved whatever John Peel was playing, Captain Beefheart, Can were really huge for me from a very early age, since before punk, really. And anything else interesting that was in the bargain bin, I would just buy it,
Yes, absolutely. And Simon, what was your sort of early formative years like?
Well, obviously, Chris has mentioned when I sort of ended up joining the band, and I was probably at that time thought that the first lineup of Simple Minds was like the best band in the world, I suppose. But I'm a wee bit younger than these guys, so I was probably about 14 or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I used to like the Skids and all the sort of more punkier stuff probably than Chris is saying. And I came to a lot of that stuff because we really eventually became, because we're, all together, we had our own things we used to listen to. We liked the Cocteau Twins, if I remember rightly. Who else was it? Like 23 Skidoo.
Certain Ratio.
The Certain Ratio, again, that was one of the gigs I remember going to the Murray House with you guys, and it just blew the top of my head off. I'd never seen anything like the glum funk. I'd never seen that in my life before. And that was just game changing. I remember leaving that going, right, okay, I now know what that's about. Let's get some of that going, you know what I mean? So, so that they were kind of a few important things to me, and the sort of original format of Simple Minds, when it was more sort of krautrock and all the Sons and Fascination and Sister Feelings Call, that was really, for me, really important as well. And I still go back, and I know you do as well, Chris. I have days, like especially on holiday, where I'll go and have a Simple Minds day, and I forget how amazing things like King is White and The Crowd is and all that sort of stuff,
Yes. Did you go up to the Breakfast Club with Simple Minds then?
No, that was all over for me. Simple Minds by then. Well, that obviously they didn't even write that, but that's a kind of a bit of a horror show. But I guess that's where they made their money back in the day, you know.
Yes. And what about you, David? What was your early formative years?
Well, I'm a little bit older than all of these guys. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but this same kind of thing, I suppose. I mean, as Chris mentioned, I will say this. I was going to see Judas Priest and Rush before punk happened, but I was also into Bowie, and then punk did happen. And as Chris said again, it lasted about 4 or 5 months, really.
Yeah.
And all these other bands came out, like Simple Minds, who had started as a punk band. And it was just a little bit more, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word intelligent, but it was thoughtful and progressive, quite krauty. I guess bands like Now as well,
Right.
Kraftwerk still kind of crept through. But I think we also listened to quite a lot of pop. I mean, as Simon mentioned, the Skids were a pop band as much as anything else. And, you know, the pop sensibility was as important to us as the punk thing. I think we all liked quite a lot of pop music.
Yes. Did any of you? I know this is such a cliche, but did any of you either like Alex Harvey or the Bay City Rollers?
Do you know the first time I got a cassette player? I think I was about, I don't know, I must have been about 12 or something. I got it for Christmas from my mum and dad, and in it was the Bay City Rollers' first album.
I can interject a good story. I currently play in a Blondie tribute band, Dirty Harry, and we supported the Bay City Rollers about 8 years ago. We did about 8 or 10 gigs with them, and it was totally bonkers.
So there's another story about the Bay City Rollers. They actually chased us down the road with blades after we arrived back at the studio in Broughton Street when we were delivering gear back. They were in there recording, and we unsettled them somewhat, and they chased us down the street. The Bay City Rollers.
Excellent. Well, that's kind of role reversal there. Nice.
What was that? Alex Harvey. Yeah, I mean, Alex Harvey was amazing, but I mean, I don't think I really realized who Alex Harvey was until a bit later.
Yes,
it really was on my radar at the time.
Yeah, and just at that point in the 70s, there was like music and there was football. Did any of you have an obsession with football at that stage? I know it's just because I've just been watching documentaries about the 74 and then 78 World Cups and this amazing disappointment in the nation of Scotland's great journey to Argentina.
Well, I think you should go there first.
The Alley's army.
Well, I've actually just recently bought a Hibs season ticket again. I'm back to being a proper football fan, and my dad played for Hibs as a very young man, so I've got football's become quite important again in my life. It was in the early 2000s, but I gave it up. But I've got back into it again. But as far as Scottish football, sort of national side, that's just rubbish. It always has been.
But in 74 and 78, that was what you were looking quite optimistic though, and you were teenage boys. Did you have an obsession with football at that point?
Well, it was Kenny Dalglish and Joe Jordan and all these guys, I suppose. Yeah. They were proper footballers, you know.
Yes.
I went to see Hibs with my dad. I've never really been a fan of the Scottish football team. Never ever really followed it. I'm not interested in the Tartan Army. That seems a little bit weird to me. But
back to the Bay City Rollers.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the only football is Hibs, and I think I've been to all the Scottish grounds, but I've only ever. Huh? I take it now. Yeah, I mean. Hibs had a bit of a big problem with the casuals, but that's way beyond this time we're talking about. But
yes, well, absolutely.
I go to the football now with Irvin Welsh. We call it the football lunch. We have a very nice lunch, and then we go to the football.
Nice. Well, civilized times. So what happens when you all get to 16 then? You know, in those days, it was probably quite different than what it is now. Most people left school at 16 with one GCSE, if they're lucky. What did you all do at 16, Chris?
I was still at school. I stayed in school till I was 18. At 16, we were rehearsing. We're in our practice room learning how to play music together. By 16, Simon was in the band, Davie was in the band. We were a six-piece, and I was, obsessed with it. Playing with these guys was everything to me, and it was just a wonderful time of exploration, like learning. You'd come up with a part for a song and play it over and over again and fit it with the other part of the song, and it was really exciting. It was a great age to be.
And intense.
And what was Edinburgh like at this stage in the sort of cultural and political and economic kind of sense? Was it what was the landscape like in Edinburgh at that stage? Because did Glasgow have the Hellfire Club during the late 70s and early 80s?
Don't know what
that is.
There remember the Tube that was on a Friday afternoon, and they used to go and see certain places. I think they went to Glasgow and did the Hellfire Club, which was vaguely funded by, I think, Simple Minds actually, and various other people.
Not aware of it. I mean, in Edinburgh, it was quite bleak. Edinburgh in the late 70s, early 80s, very bleak. In fact, as a kind of sort of what it looked like, it was we have tenements in Edinburgh, like, so most of the buildings in Edinburgh are tenements, so like 4 to 5 story flats, and because of the coal that we'd used in the 60s and 70s, every tenement was black, and they hadn't cleaned Edinburgh up, so Edinburgh was like this bleak, coal dusted, black and white place. And there were clubs. There was Valentino's, there was JJ's, there was the Hoochie Coochie Club later. Yeah, I mean, but it was
very important.
What's that?
In the early 80s, there's a club called the Nightclub, which was very important.
Yeah,
because that's where we would see these great bands like the Slits or the Fall, or I remember seeing Rip Rig and Panic there. That was where you went to learn.
Yeah.
It was a great place. Simon saw Depeche Mode there. Do you remember that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
like it was an under 20, an under 18 show.
That's right. I was still at school, I think.
You were. Yeah.
And with sort of having done this show for a long time, I didn't realise when I first started how many bands were going to be. But then I realised that there was a lot of unemployment, and unemployment benefit at that stage kind of helped a lot of people almost have an indirect grant, didn't they? There was job seekers allowance, enterprise allowance schemes. Being on the dole wasn't a really big thing. You got your housing benefit and council tax paid. Did any of you sort of go that direction or life, or did you?
Absolutely.
All of us, and we had jobs. And we used to get other people's housing rent checks too.
Oh, good. Well, that's a happy story. Thatcher's Britain working well there.
Chris and I even stormed the council building once with a whole lot of other people and demonstrated that we had no food, and they gave us like £2.50 food voucher or something.
Or the co-op, like the worst supermarket in the world. And they wouldn't let us buy beer with it.
God.
On a more serious note on that, there was a thing called Art on the Dole, which basically was as you described. It was like having a grant, and like 1 week somebody would have their dole check, and then that would get spent. The next week somebody else would have it, and that would get spent, and that's how we lived for quite a while.
Blimey,
There's a lot of concessions as well. We'd get into the film house for really cheap.
Yeah,
we'd go and see films and things like that. But I think that the whole unemployment benefit at that time really helped a lot of bands get good at the time, because you could spend all day rehearsing if you wanted to, and we often did. It was fantastic.
Because a lot of people often talk about those kind of key bands who sort of shaped the indie 80s, and there was the Smiths, the Go-Betweens, Orange Juice. Well, you didn't sort of go in that direction of indie pop, did you? You were sort of quite...
No.
Not even slightly. So did you feel out on a limb by this stage?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if out on a limb. I think we were quite happy.
Yeah, I mean,
we were involved.
weren't following anyone. We were doing our own thing, and we didn't think about it particularly until, you know, we'd go to gigs and things like that and see other bands. But we were doing our thing. It wasn't, oh my God, we should be more like that. We just did our thing.
Yes. It was just quite an unusual, because like you said about John Peel, I mean, I loved the John Peel show because it was such a mix of things from, you know, you had the Bundu Boys, you had sort of Bulgarian folk, you had extreme noise terror, indie pop, hardcore thrash, didn't you? It was kind of, and then you had all the dub reggae and, you know.
The reggae, yeah.
You know, the Gregory Isaacs and Dennis Brown and Augustus Pablo. Yeah. So it was just, but it was all just put into this one show, and early hip hop as well. So it was kind of an exciting time. So what was the kind of the artists or bands that you thought, did you ever sort of slightly copy somebody to begin with to sort of get a bit of an idea of where you wanted to go?
I don't know.
I don't know to say it with. Take a turn.
What was that, Simon?
I'm saying we've probably all got different takes on that. I mean, I was going to say that I think because we kind of never sat down and said, oh, we want to be this, we want to be that. It was just kind of like the osmosis of music. I think we all liked different things. And then when you put it all together, there was probably essences of things we were all individually influenced by without realising it. But then when we played together, it kind of didn't really sound like anything. I mean, really, I have to say, listening to the album that Chris has put together, the Trip Down Memory Lane, I don't actually know anything else that sounds remotely like anything we ever played.
No.
I can't find any references. I can find things that have, you know, the latter, the sort of last stand of FINI TRIBE, which was the sort of harder, hardcore version. I can see where people have copied that, but not our early stuff. I mean, it's just, you know, that I can't think. If somebody said, "What the FINI TRIBE sound like?" I'd be like, "I don't know."
I played all fours on the radio the other day. My friend Zoe, who I was doing it with, she was like, "What the hell is this?" Exactly that on the radio. It's just like, it was like, I don't know whether this is like, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can cut it out or tell me to rewind. But I think I remember Chris and I going into the vocal booth to record the vocals, and I'm pretty sure we had lit cigarettes and we strangled each other.
Yeah, we did.
And you were naked.
And we were naked. Yeah. And it was like, it was such an intense period of time. We rehearsed so much all the time, and like it was intense. It was kind of coming out of our pores. It wasn't like anything else. It wasn't like we're in a band. We're just like this mad thing. We just wanted to be together all the time. And,
right.
And ended up in the studio with Chris and I, stubbing cigarettes out in each other's arms and throttling each other.
No, is that the track Choke?
No.
Do you know what? I don't even know what Choke is.
Choke is a song that we actually did before you were in the. It was a song actually we wrote before Simon was in the band. I remember playing it with Roland R55.
I remember coming in and making up drum parts for all those songs you're talking, like Choke and Roller Coaster, and Psycho Industrial Estate, and there was a few others that have gone by the wayside, but you had to come up with drum parts because you just had a crap Dr. Rhythm 55, which was shit, you know?
Yeah, like we couldn't hear.
Yes. So Chris, the last time I might have, I've seen you a few times, but you were on that documentary film about Rima. So talking about that particular sort of single that came out. So did you buy that single when that was released in '79?
Oh yeah. No, I bought it immediately, and it wasn't like I'd heard it at all. I just saw it at Virgin in Frederick Street in Edinburgh, and I saw the cover, and nobody knew what 4AD Records was at that point because it was the first record on 4AD. But it looked so interesting to me that I just bought it, and it just was a real game changer for me. That was, I remember I bought it in the summer holidays when I had just started doing something that would lead to the FINI TRIBE, you know?
Yes.
So the sounds and just the overall dismal 4 songs on that record. I mean, it was just like a portable rainy day, you know. It was like, this is great. And I liked it better than, you know, the things that would come out later, like Bauhaus and stuff like that, just because it was so, it was just so brutally, unashamedly honest. It wasn't trying to be anything else. There was no pictures of the band on stage. It said that the tracks on the B-side were live, and it sounded like there was no audience there at all. I just imagined this huge hall with these really grumpy guys playing music. So yeah,
Yes.
and then they disappeared, you know, then Rima just disappeared. And since then I've grown to be friendly with
Dorothy?
yeah, and the nutcase singer.
Gary?
Gary, yeah. He's a sweetheart. But at that
Yes,
time,
well, because I did an interview with him, and he sort of.
I know, I heard it. Yeah. I was there.
Oh, right. Yeah, Jesus, that was long. Yes. So did you get into those German bands as well, like Malaria and, I don't know, Exmar Deutschland? Were they also on your radar at that stage?
No, these bands weren't on my radar. I actually only recently listened to Exmal Deutschland for the first time because they played here, and I thought I should really listen to these guys, and it was fine, you know, whatever.
Yes.
But you know, 4AD was a great label back then, and I loved these early Bauhaus singles and things like that. But it wasn't really until the Cocteau Twins signed to 4AD that I got really excited about 4AD. We all did.
And then Dead Can Dance, which was exciting. So with going back to the band then, so within quite a short time, John Peel sort of picks up on you, doesn't he?
Yeah, we I don't know how we came to do this, but I think we did a couple of his road shows. He used to go out and do university road shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess we got to know him a tiny little bit. And maybe after 2 of those road shows, he asked us to do a Peel session.
Yeah.
So what's your memory of going down to Maida Vale then and seeing the famous Dale Griffith?
The canteen was great.
Yeah.
You got almost free food.
Excellent.
And then those days, that was important. No, it was amazing. It was incredible. It was like going into that studio.
I remember we played so fast.
Yeah, that's right.
It was insane because we rehearsed, and you know, we were just excited. You know, we were just excited and nervous. I remember my hands being really sore from doing the hand claps on Splash Care.
Yeah.
So I want to interject. So I remember the thing that sticks out to me was that Dale Griffin, as you mentioned there earlier, David, in the session, and to be honest, I didn't really know who he was. And but he was really, really nice. And he came over to me and he was like, "Oh, really, your drumming's really interesting. It's really blah blah." And then it was only like weeks later that I found that he played with Motley Hoop. I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, that kind of works." It was like that.
Yeah.
And obviously he's no longer with us. But and I remember it was kind of, as Chris said, we really rehearsed and we played the songs like twice as fast as they should be, if I remember. But somehow it sounds great. But when I listen back to it, I think I couldn't play that anymore. No chance.
It was like, yeah, it was bonkers, really. It's great that it's on the record. It's really great that it's on the record because it's like it's a moment in time where we were all just together and intense. As I said before, I think the word intense comes a lot. And frantic.
And who was writing the lyrics at this stage? Because your booklet is quite revealing, isn't it? It's got all your lyrics on it. Well, not all the lyrics, but the lyrics to this compilation.
It was me and Davie. We wrote the lyrics. Sometimes we collaborated, and then sometimes he would write them. Sometimes I would write them. You know, that's how it went.
I mean, when you look back on them, are you quite boggled by them?
Yeah, I don't understand them at all.
I mean, I have no idea what splash care means at all.
You came up with it.
I know. Absolutely no idea.
Splash care, no gain.
No gain.
But we did a lot of. I mean, I remember
A lot of
you would do
cars.
things like listen to something on headphones, take them off, and write down what was on the TV.
Yeah,
We did
yeah.
a lot of little games and experiments, cut
Yeah.
up things like that as well. You know, but yeah, the words are quite bananas, really.
Yes, but I think with I suppose some of Bowie's best ones, it's kind of magic realism to it, isn't it? You kind of sing along and afterwards think, "We move like tigers on Vaseline." I'm not quite sure, but that's a great line, isn't it?
He
It's,
did
is.
famously
it's a
cut
good.
words up, though, famously, did he not?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Huh?
He used to just cut words out of newspapers and just arrange them.
Yes,
Yeah.
his famous
It's
cutout
like
ideas.
astronaut canteen and things like
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
astronaut canteen sounds a bit like one of ours.
Yes. So can you remember how your testimony came along? How did this? How did your creative process work with some of your numbers?
Um,
I think it was
the-
John sampling the bells was the first thing where it all started.
It started with that, and I remember we were in Philip's bedroom in Leith Street, and I think it was me and John and Philip, and we just got a cheap sampling keyboard, the one that was affordable, the Ensoniq Mirage, which was the first time that a sampler had become something that an independent musician could conceivably get. You know, before that it was Emulator and Fairlight, and it was just, you know,
Yeah,
we couldn't.
and just before that, I can't remember. It was a bell sampler that was in Wolf's Planet, which you could sample one note.
Oh, I don't
Really?
remember that.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a bell sampler.
One note?
This is not for the testimony, but it was something you actually physically pressed the button to record it, and you sampled it that way. But I think the obviously the Mirage was the bells, the actual bells.
Yeah. And we had got a reel of tape from Philip's roommate, Dad.
Oh, Lindsay.
Yeah. And we didn't know what was on. We put it on. It was church bells, and that was it. It was a small, like a 5-inch reel with about an inch of tape on it, and we just put it on. And John sampled it, and then we played that melody, and we grabbed the ball and ran with that one, and sort of built a long piece of music around it. It morphed into different, you know, sections, but the core of the song was "De Testimony," and we learned how to play it live as well, you know.
Philip came up with the drum beat. I remember that. And because the doof, 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 and then there used to be a wee sort of bass, and that was Chick when we were in the studio, and he was going, "Oh, it's a tom or bass drum or whatever," and it was a kind of arpeggio going underneath it all. And then
Do you know? Remember when you, me, and John lived in Chester Street, Chris,
Yes.
and we were listening to quite a lot of Madonna.
Oh, True Blue had just come out.
True Blue had just come out. I still feel there's a. This is a weird one to say, but when I hear that, I hear the testimony.
Oh, open your heart.
Yeah, not in terms of like it's like it, but there's something about the rhythm. There's something about the rhythm in it, and that's when I say when we talked earlier about going like what music we liked, we liked Madonna as much as we liked Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah.
And there was an that's why I mean the testimony is one of the most kind of. I mean, it's so rhythmic and so, but almost unlistenable at times because it's so discordant. But I still feel there's such a pop thing in it.
Right.
I also remember the doing all the cowbells and the bongos with Chick recording it, and he you know with the sort of break. So again, that was back to almost sort of the Latin American rhythms, almost. And Chick putting in a wee offbeat and stuff, and. Because I remember when we came to play it live, it sounded different because it wasn't Chick that was playing it, and we'd built up all these things, and so you know it is basically rhythmic. I mean, because it's really only keyboards, bass, and drums and percussion, and I would say that the percussion plays a really huge part in that song, especially in all the sections where it's not the testimony main part, all the other bits that I can't remember. We gave them names to make it internal, whatever, and all these other bits and things, and especially when we've that live, you know, the live stuff on the CD. I forgot how immense all you three guys playing like all the toms and the cowbells and bongos live. I was like that. I just remember thinking I was concentrating on what I was doing, and then I listened to it and go, "That's nuts! I've never heard anyone since do that like that."
right.
Well,
You're,
it sounds
you're right,
great.
Tom. You're right.
Yes, amazing. And what was it like when you signed to Wax Trax Records in Chicago? Was that Chicago's label, wasn't it? No,
Yeah.
not. What was that a big moment for the band?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like a first proper record deal.
Yeah.
It was like
I'm still living off the royalties.
The Wax Trax had an office in London as well. It had its European distribution through Southern Studios, and I worked at Fast Forward at that time, which was Scottish distribution for the cartel, Rough Trade. And I got talking to Alison, who worked at Southern Studios, and she would send me the Wax Trax records, and I really liked them. The stuff that was coming out, it was early-ish Ministry stuff, and it was just great. It sounded really fresh. And I went down there with a cassette of what we were doing, and that's how the friendship was made, the agreement was made, and the rest is history.
Yes. So was there a lot of pressure on the first single that you put out, I Want More? Was there a bit of, how did the band cope with that kind of moment?
It wasn't pressure. We could, we never really, we just did what we wanted, really. And it seemed like a good idea to do I Want More. And I still think it's a great idea. I think it's a good version. But that's what we decided to do for the first single. They had loved D-Testimony as well. And, they basically, as with a lot of things Wax Trax did, like, because I remained with that label, they would kind of let me do whatever I wanted, which was really nice. Like, sure, Chris, go ahead and do that. That's fine, whatever. So, yeah.
We did, before we did that Wax Trax thing, I think I still got a couple of the letters. We did the whole round of going around record companies trying to get a record deal. And we'd walk in the door and they would just look at us and go, sorry, boys. It's just like, we just didn't fit in anywhere. And I don't think we even thought about that at the time, but it was obvious afterwards that we just didn't fit in. We were just too off the rails for most
no
people.
Business acumen either.
No.
You say we're going to see record companies. Most bands have like a plan, and a strapline and an album title, and we were just going to go, I've got this band, interesting.
He's a deal.
Go, no.
No, right. And what was the live circuit like? Did you go around all the little indie alternative nights in the UK at this stage?
Yeah, we did a lot of that. It was quite that played a huge part in, I guess, us coming to a point after quite some time of going like we just can't do this anymore, because it was, some gigs were great, others were just awful, just like so depressing, and there was no money. Some gigs you actually even had to pay to play.
Yeah, right.
And it was like there's a famous one in London, the near the Town and Country Club, where you actually had to pay to play. It was just like, I think we did Greenwich Tunnel Club or something, and there was a man and a dog, literally, and we were just going to say like, we'll just back up, and the guy demanded that we play. It's just. But and then we go to Brighton, it'd be great, or we go to Glasgow, it'd be great. We go to Manchester, it'd be great, but it took its toll. We did the toilet tour several times,
right?
And we had so much gear, and we used to fill the van and drive all the way to London for 50 quid. It was great.
You talk about business acumen.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what about America? Did you have much success in America at this stage?
No.
No, we never played there live, but that was the first time that I Want More, when it came out, was in the Rockpool independent dance charts, It did really well, and that was really
Yeah, the
heartening.
American, the American college charts were huge then. They were really important. So it's a kind of
Yeah.
first level up in America. Like if you did well in the college charts, you were going to do pretty well.
Yeah. So that was really good. I remember coming over to America the first time, and I went out to a club and they played I Want More, which, was really amazing for me because I'd never heard anything like that in a club in Scotland unless I'd begged the DJ, you know. But yeah, that happened, and the reaction was really, really positive.
Yes.
We didn't make it over there.
So then sort of like Spinal Tap Mark II. So you leave the band at this stage, don't you, Chris?
Yeah.
And then you keep it going, David.
Well, no, I left as well, and Andy left.
And me, John, and Philip carried on.
You, Simon, and Philip and John carried on, and then there was a little bit of a kind of, I can't remember the time frame really, but like Chris and I then subsequently went to work for Fast Forward, and after Chris had gone to America, and then there was maybe about a year or something before someone came along, and James Brown from NME, the editor of the NME. I met him in Leeds while I was tour managing the Pastels, and he said, "Your record's really big in Ibiza." And I actually didn't really know what Ibiza was. I thought maybe Ibiza a club, and it was an island.
Narnia.
Narnia, yeah. And then subsequently, like we'd left the testimony behind. We'd like done that record, sold it out 2 pressings, and moved on. It was we'd done that in '86, and then sometime around '88, I got this phone call after Chris had gone to America, and then that subsequently changed the whole thing for going forward. But yeah, I mean, we'd done a lot in those years leading up to Testimony coming out and being successful as a club record. I mean, we made 2 incredible performances, one in Edinburgh and one in Glasgow, which were more like theatrical productions than a band. And again, I think as much as it was wonderful and great to do, it took its toll as well. We couldn't really develop it anymore. There was no money. There was nothing. Nobody was investing in it. But we still had fucking great time doing it. But I think people we'd kind of all moved on as a group of people. We'd been together for quite a long time.
Yes.
So
that's just my take on it.
Yeah, and at that critical age too, between sort of like your mid-teens to your early 20s, they're really important years, and the band, that phase of the band ended, and a new phase of the band began, which was great.
So who's on the album An Unexpected Groovy Treat then?
Me.
Right.
Me, John, and Philip.
Right. Are you and that was on One Little Indian Records, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that was 92, so that was a long time after.
Yes.
So yeah, it was like a whole different phase and a whole different story, which this album doesn't, and quite rightly doesn't go into any of that.
Yes, I do love Forever Green, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's a catchy number. So then, so then the band finishes, and you all go off in separate ways, and just forget all about FINI TRIBE. So then, when does things start to sort of bubble up again for you guys?
Well, Chris, I mean, you went to America at that point, so you were just straight into like big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I joined Ministry and whatever, the Revolting Cocks, and was really involved in Wax Trax Records, and I was touring a lot and recording a lot. It was a very full schedule for a while, for a few years.
How did you survive the 90s? Because that's a very hedonistic period, isn't it?
I have no idea. Was it?
I actually remember very little of the 90s, sadly. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did my thing, and I did my hedonism and everything like that. And but I've always been far too curious about moving forward with music to really get too wrapped up in that. And I'm glad I moved on from Ministry and the Revolting Cogs, although I still tenuously am still connected to these guys. And but I always have to move on. So that always stopped me self-destroying myself. That stopped me with the self-destruction.
Yes. And then did you keep vaguely in touch with each other during those years and decades?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would come home every so often, and I would see everybody and things like that. And I always missed the FINI tribe. It was a very, very, very important part of my life, if not the most important part of my life, next to having kids. And yeah, it's always been at the back of my mind that what we did was very special and very creative, and that's.
I think, yeah. I think it was probably the most special time. I think we talked earlier about having no money at all and like doing it because we loved it and because we were driven to do it by each other and our friendship. As we progressed further forward from that, we actually came into quite a lot of money, and it kind of and the music business in the 90s was fairly. It was quite disgusting and cutthroat and really quite corrupt. And we money was no problem, but it didn't help us produce music.
No,
It doesn't. You go from something that's really everything you've ever believed in, and you've worked like the six of us worked so hard to do the stuff we did, and then all of a sudden somebody throws loads of money at you, and like you've got this person and that person, and you've got an airplane taking you to London to sort of decide what you might wear on Top of the Pops if you get Top of the Pops, and then a chauffeur-driven car back to the airport. It's just like it was in black and white, chalk and cheese. It was just like, and this record that Chris has putting out, it really has made me think about how much, as a six-piece, that was really the FINI tribe. I believe, and the memories of that are much stronger. I joke about not remembering the 90s, but I genuinely remember the stuff that we used to do as kids and growing up into our early 20s, which were so much more important. And I suppose I've kind of fed into what we do now as individuals. And it's
absolutely, yeah.
It's a wonderful document of, I don't know. I mean, because there's just so much on the record that it's like, there's snippets of stuff that I wasn't involved with. There's snippets. There's incredible stuff on there that I'd forgotten about. But it's amazing. It's quite an incredible piece of work.
Yes. So when did you start the project, Chris? Because you've been very busy with a lot of your own solo albums. So when did the idea of compiling and archiving these early years come about?
It's been on my radar for a long time, but it was probably about a year ago that I started with Davie, like aggressively trying to find things. And this is the time to do it. Grant McPhee's book, Postcards from Scotland, was a very big kick in the backside for me. This is the time. Let's put our stamp on, Scottish culture. And so John from the band digitized some reels that he had, and I collected stuff from everyone else, and I had some stuff myself, and we went for it, and I put it together.
Yes.
Finding the live material was really a big plus for me. These were almost 2 full concerts are on the CD set, the 3 CD set, from 1983 and 1986, I think. And hearing us live was just so exciting to me. And I remember these shows very well. And I wanted to present something that really had not everything on it, but a taste of everything that we did. Live, studio. There's even some stuff from when we were at an abandoned school up in Monomail in Fife. And we went up there for a week to compose, and there's even some stuff on there that, we recorded in the middle of the night, tripping our brains out, And, I thought, is this just silly? And then I thought, no, it's not. This is what we were. And, bands like Can made a lot of recordings like that and spliced it in with the other material they had. So it took a long time to put together. It took a long time to master, because we were going from vinyl, cassette, reels, all sorts of different formats.
Yes, it is kind of fascinating hearing, because actually last night I was doing an interview with a guy called, I think, Richard James Burgess, who was in various bands, including Landscape, who did Einstein a Go-Go, and 3 albums, and they did a massive box set of all the stuff. And again, that was kind of quite out there and experimental in a way that, they obviously had that single and a few others, but generally, it wasn't going to pay the rent. But again, it's kind of interesting how innovative, hearing your story, how innovative that period was of people just doing things which obviously had no intention of thinking, we're going to make loads of money on this, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, Landscape started off as a jazz band.
Yes.
Before they went and had a hit with that synth song, they were just like an all-out, like full throttle 6-piece jazz band,
But no one wanted to listen to.
I like them.
But they weren't going to get more than a man and his dog going to any of those concerts. Yeah. But yes, it is quite brilliant. And getting the John Peel sessions was that quite straightforward, getting those kind of recordings?
I don't think so. I mean,
get them?
No.
Yes, to get the recordings and
we had to license it. Yeah, Chris licensed
it, and it costs a fair amount of money. But it's fairly straightforward, But they're very by the book, but they're also very nice to deal with as well. At least the people I dealt with were very helpful, and as soon as I paid, they sent me the digitized files, and we were good to
yes go. And did you sort of, has it been like looking through some old photographs, just emotionally sort of finding things in your mind that you'd forgotten about, that you've gone through and had to process?
Oh yeah, I mean, for all of us, I'm sure there's just a lot of mostly fantastic memories,
I mean, Simon's even been finding things in the last few weeks. I mean, there's endless things.
For volume 2.
Volume 2.
I found those posters, but I've also got a box of cassettes with no labels on them.
Really?
Just black cassettes, and it just says mix 1 on it and things like that. So,
wow.
Exactly. So, but I mean, I'm not joking. It's a bit. I mean, there's some cassettes with things written on them. There's a whole bunch of them, obviously from like Wolves and stuff like that. Probably, everywhere we've recorded for mixes. At the end of the night, and I must get a cassette player and have a dig through some of them.
Yes. And when you were putting through, and who's going to be releasing this, by the way? What label's this on?
Oh, it's on Shipwrecked, which is my own label, which there's only been a couple of releases on the label. In fact, 2 books and I think maybe 2 albums. It's just my own label, but it's going to be available everywhere.
And sort of, you've got some nice sleeve notes from various people as well. Have you been excited by the feedback that you've been getting from people, from sort of folk around the world?
Well, feedback hasn't really started. Nobody's really got it yet, but the people we've sent it to have been really excited about it and really enjoyed it, and it's been very fulfilling.
Yes. So have you got any plans to sort of do any promotion or live dates or showcase anything?
No, no,
Live dates.
no, nah. I don't think we'll be doing live. I think we're going to do a couple of launch talks and yeah. It depends what happens. I mean, Chris is obviously the other side of the world. Everyone's busy doing other things.
I'll come home.
Hey, you'll come home.
Be in the practice room. I'll be there.
Once you come back, they're not going to let you back in.
Me and Chris are just going to hire a bunch of young musos and teach them the FINI tribe and go out as the FINI tribe.
Like sign on again.
It'll be a bit like the basic, bit like the basic rollers. There'll be 6 versions of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I think
Stranglers recently, and they only got JJ Burnell now. So, if there's 2 original members, that's loads.
Yes, well, that is true. I think there's 3 versions of the Rubettes actually, so there's quite a lot actually.
No, no. I mean, we're very lucky to have been doing some interviews, and we've had some nice reviews so far. We even got an album of the month this week, which is a beautifully written piece, which is a really interesting piece actually. It goes into the 80s and some of the questions you asked about what Britain was like in the 80s, and yes, it's lovely to have that feedback, and it's been a lovely project to do, and you know it's essentially for the 6 of us mostly, I suppose. Yeah. It's a piece of history that we wanted to put together, and hopefully we can share it with some people, and if people like it, that's great.
Yes, and I guess you'll do all the different formats, including vinyl record, a vinyl version.
Yeah, there's a vinyl record. The vinyl is only 1 album. It's like a best of the CD version and the download version. The CD is 3 CDs. Okay, so it's well over 3 hours of music, and we couldn't manage to make it into a box set of vinyl. But you know, it's going to be available pretty readily everywhere. Whatever format you need.
My God, it is amazing to think that your live recordings are over 42 years ago, aren't they?
Yeah.
That is because, when you listen to something from the mid-80s, emotionally you think, oh, that's not that long, and you go, oh Christ, that's 40 years, isn't it? That is.
Whoa.
Yeah,
it does blow your brain a bit, doesn't it? Really, you just think you can't quite imagine it. And those live recordings, because yes, you've done 87, but 83 as well, isn't there?
There's a live recording from 83, yeah, and that was the first gig we played as the FINI Tribe. I mean, we'd been called something else before that, and our first gig as the FINI Tribe, I believe, was that gig at the Pleasance Theatre.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was still in school. I was still
Harry
in
Horse.
school.
Longer at the front.
And do you have lots of photographs to accompany this box set?
Yeah, there's a lot. The CD has a 24-page booklet with lots of writing and lots of photographs.
So what was a typical fan of the band like? Did you have a type who used to follow you, or the type that came to your concerts?
Good question. No. No, I guess the weirdos and misfits of wherever we were playing.
Yes, because I mean, at that stage, I mean, we just got to Thatcher's Britain, hadn't we? Sort of the Falkland War had happened, the miners' strike, the Greenham Common was kind of, we all thought we were going to be nuked at one stage. Yeah. Huge amounts of unemployment as well. And then there was Red Wedge and Rock Against Racism as well. So it was all quite grim during the 80s as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of political gigs, like, CND, things like that. You know, we did a lot of that stuff.
Did you ever go to any festivals? Did you play any festivals at all?
Yeah, we played at Brockwell Park CND festival with Style Council and
Madness, General Saint and
Clint Eastwood, Hazel O'Connor.
Yeah, wow.
We played that. It was mental. It was giant. huge festival, and the Damned played, and it was like a very early Style Council gig, and they got mud thrown at them because people wanted the jam and not, you know.
Paul Weller walked off because his yellow cashmere sweater got dirty.
Yes, I could imagine. He wasn't going to get that out with Persil washing liquid.
Chaps, I have to go back to work.
Yes, this is true. Sorry, some of us. Yes.
I have. Do you want to guys keep going? And I'll.
Well, no, that's fine. I think we've got it. But thank you ever so much for coordinating. Well, you know, this has been amazing all the way around the world.
Thank you, David, for doing it.
And I absolutely loved listening, you know, kind of sort of going back and listening to it all again and hearing the stuff that I didn't hear the first time, let's face it. But yes, but I have very fond memories of Mr. Peel playing, you know, your session and various singles. So yes, it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Yes, well, look, thanks again for your time.
Bye-bye.
And all the best for the release. I hope it goes really well, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know when you're going to broadcast this?
Well, very soon, actually, because otherwise it'll get fallen. And hopefully that guy will make a perfume of the band or one of the tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Do a Rima. Anyway, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was me in conversation with 3 members of FINI TRIBE. A massive thank you to Chris Connelly, David Miller, and also Simon McGlynn. This has been the C86 show, David Eastaugh. So if you want to contact me, you can on all the social media platform sites. Do C86 show. All these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes and Podbean. It's true. Have a great week. Stay safe.